Hey everybody, Bernie here. Check it out. So I got two of these Cougar Claws left. I'm going to wrap them in sterling and put a bail on them so that I can actually wear them, or somebody can wear them. There's still meat on the end. So these are real Cougar Claws. Two of them. So here's a piece. I've already bent this sterling. I have to solder it together yet. This one here, you can see my anchor and stamped sterling. I have to solder it right there. I will file it flatter later. Then I'm going to solder caps on the end with a bail. Stick this inside there. I'll be cutting some notches all the way around and bend them over so this will stay in there. If this doesn't go in there, like it's really close, I'll just start chewing on some of that meat there to get rid of it so it fits in there. I'll just file it down somewhat so that it fits in there. I can't make that piece to fit all that bone, so you make it as close as you can. Kind of fit the bone in there. File off what you need to. So I'm going to go solder that up. I don't know if I'll be able to set the camera up so you'll be able to see or not. But we'll see what happens. Alright, you ready for this? I'm going to start working on this bail for this Cougar Claw. Here's the piece. I got it in that holder there. There's a lot of crap in the background. Hopefully you can see what's going on. Right inside there's 3 pieces of solder. Right inside there, across the seam. Can't see it very well. I fluxed the whole crazy piece. It's sterling, and if you don't flux the whole thing, it's going to turn black on you. Awesome. Just kick that. See if I can get it back to where I had it. This little black thing's floating around the room from the acetylene torch. Alright, see if I can do this. It's really hard to do it on camera, but I'm trying to set it up so you can see. So the seam is on the bottom. I put flux all over the whole piece to keep it from turning black. It'll oxidize and turn black because it's sterling. If I coat it with same flux, borax flux, that it won't turn black. So you want to keep the heat moving back and forth. Slowly heat the whole piece up until the metal gets hot enough to melt the pieces of solder that are inside there. There's 3 pieces. They're long ways over the seam, using hard solder, because later on I'm going to use medium and easy, or you can use hard all the way through. Hard silver solder all the way through your project if you know what you're doing. Otherwise you use hard first, then medium, or soft. Your bail is made kind of separately anyways. So I don't have the fan on here, so you can kind of hear and see what's going on. So it's turning colors. It's about halfway there. Keep the heat moving. I'm using this big rosebud tip because it's a big piece of solder. I've got it kind of low heat, not a lot of oxygen, so that it's burning up a lot of the oxygen instead of adding oxygen to it. I don't want oxygen. Oxygen will make it turn black. So there's 3 pieces of solder inside there. They're going to melt in a second here. Just keep the heat moving. Watch your solder when it melts. This is a solder pick. If I have to go in there to move it around a little bit, make it flow, that's what you do. This is a titanium solder pick. The solder will not stick to the pick. It might go on the pick, but it'll ball up and come right off. It's almost there. Hard solder takes a while. Solder's nice and red now. Here it goes. There the solder just flowed. Keep the heat on it for a second. Make it flow again. There you go. Perfect. You need to take your time. It's actually a pretty thick piece of sterling. And you want to look on the bottom, and it's perfect. I guess you're better zoom you back out. Yeah, I did it. Drop it in the water. It's stuck on there because that flux. It's going to have a little bit of stuff on there, but it's really clean compared to what it would be like if I wouldn't have fluxed the whole piece. You don't put much flux on there, but you need just flux on it right now. But this is a crock pot over here. This thing here, it's got acid in it. Once it's hot, I just plugged it in. You throw this in there and it'll eat all this. There's some schmutz on there. You'll eat that all off. Here's the seam. It's perfect. So, there we go, that's one. Now I'll put another piece on there, weld it down to another piece, and I'll cut it all off and grind it close. That'll be the cap. Then I'll weld a ring on there and then make a bail for it. I'll have to cut some notches in here so I can bend it over, hold the claw in there. But that's it for now. I'm going to work on the second one so you get an idea what it's like, just to be cool. Got my torch going. This is what I use to polish up a lot of my stuff right here. This machine, these different wheels. Look at all the silver right there. It's about an 1/8 inch thick. See the tray, it's black over here, and that's all. Even up on here. Using a paintbrush, scraping it down. It's probably a 1/2 ounce right there. Alright, let's get to this. Zoom that in. Hopefully that'll work. Alright. I'll slowly heat the piece up. I got 3 pieces of solder in there. You want to flux your solder too. Got a thing like this with some flux in it. You just cut your little pieces of solder, drop them in there. Flux your whole piece. Since it's sterling, you want to flux the whole thing just to keep it from oxidizing. Flux your solder, put them in there right across the seam, not on the seam, but across diagonally, opposite of your seam. There's one on this end, one on the other end, there's one in the middle there somewhere. You have to keep the torch moving. The solder the flux has water in it, and it'll bubble up and start boiling, and your solder will move on you. So if you put the solder right where you want it, it's probably going to move on you. It's going to boil. The water in the flux will start boiling, and then your solder will move. So if you keep the flame slowly heated for quite a while, a couple minutes if you need to, Slowly melt all the water out of it, and your solder will land right where you put it. Slowly bring the heat up, a little closer. You'll see the flux will start turning clearish. Keep the heat on it. When your solder flows, just move it a little bit with your pick if you need to. Bring the heat in a little closer, concentrate it just a little bit more where you need to. We're about halfway there. You can see the solder's changing color. All the flux turned clear. Keep the heat right on it. Solder's turning red. It's going to flow right any second now. There the solder flowed. Move it a little bit if you need to. Keep the heat on. Make sure you turn the gas off a second. Alright. That went. Seemed to flow nicely. No solder coming through the other side. This is the side you're going to be looking at. So let's saw some odd side. Back you back out. Drop this in the water. Might be stuck there because there's flux on the holder there. No big deal. Drop it in the sauce. Pull it out. Now it's nice and cold. This is the second one. Looks exactly like the first one, more or less. Let's see what we got here. That's going to be the back. Oh, you know what? I'm supposed to put a stone on here too and all that business. This is some flux and crap that will come right off of there. It's not the best, but it'll come off and it goes into that hot acid back there. Well, this one I did not mark with my anchor and stamp it sterling because I forgot to. It's in such a hurry and started. I bent it. Once you bend it, you can't stamp it. So I'll stamp the bail. It's all good. Or the cap. I got to put a cap on there first. If I remember to stamp it first, I'll put it on. Put my anchor on one side, sterling on the other, because I'm going to put a circle on there first. Got to put a ring on there and then make a bail go through there. So there it is. Let's go work on it some more.